The father of languages.
Imagine walking into a crowded room in Paris, Tokyo, or Cairo, and being able to walk up to anyone and speak to them in their own mother tongue. Imagine looking at a chaotic street sign in Arabic, a deep philosophical novel in Japanese, a romantic poem in French, or a complex business contract in German and understanding every single word, nuance, and cultural joke perfectly. For 99% of us, learning just one foreign language feels like a mountain we can never fully climb. We spend thousands of dollars on expensive textbooks, buy trendy language apps, and spend years memorizing grammar rules. Yet, the moment a tourist stops us on the street to ask for simple directions, our brain freezes, our throat goes dry, and we forget everything. But today, we're going to tell you the legendary story of a man known in history as the father of languages. His name was Arthur. Arthur grew up in a tiny, forgotten village in the late 19th century. He had no internet, no smart apps, no audiobooks, and absolutely no money. Yet, before he closed his eyes for the last time, he could speak 20 different languages with absolute, flawless fluency.
But here is the twist that shocked the world. He didn't use 20 different methods. He didn't spend decades studying. He used just one single, unusual method that he discovered by accident during the darkest period of his life. Today, for the first time on the English Hub podcast, we are opening his secret diary to share his formula with you. If you are struggling with English, change your life today.
Our story truly begins in the late 1880s. Arthur was not born a genius. In fact, if you met him as a teenager, you would think he was the last person on earth to become a polyglot. When he was in school, his teachers constantly humiliated him. They told his parents that Arthur was linguistically deficient, meaning his brain just wasn't built for languages. He failed his Latin exams multiple times, and his French pronunciation was so bad that his classmates laughed at him until he cried. He developed a deep phobia of speaking. He believed his teachers were right. Some people are just born with the language gene, and he wasn't one of them. At the age of 20, desperate to make a living, Arthur took a low-paying job as a clerk at a busy shipping port. His job was mind-numbing, copying numbers from one paper to another all day long. But one chilly autumn morning, everything changed. The shipping company received a massive, mysterious crate of goods from the deep forests of Russia. Along with the crate came an urgent letter written entirely in Russian. The entire office went into a panic. No one in the port could read the Cyrillic alphabet. The company was on the verge of losing thousands of dollars and ruining a vital international contract if they couldn't reply by the end of the month. Arthur saw his chance. He wanted to prove his teachers wrong. That evening, he spent his last few coins at a dusty local bookstore. He bought a Russian translation of his favorite childhood book, The Adventures of Robinson Crusoe. He also bought a small, cheap Russian English dictionary. For the first 3 weeks, it was a total disaster. The Russian alphabet looked like alien codes. The grammar rules in his textbook were so complex, they gave him migraines. He sat up until 3 a.m. every night, trying to memorize verb conjugations. But by the next morning, his brain had erased everything. He felt like the same stupid boy in school. He was completely ready to give up and accept defeat.
It was a rainy Tuesday night. The deadline for the Russian letter was only a week away. Arthur was sitting in his cold room, staring at a page of grammar exceptions, feeling tears of frustration welling up in his eyes. He realized that the traditional way of studying was a trap. It was killing his love for the language. In a moment of pure, passionate frustration, Arthur did something radical. He closed his thick grammar textbook, stood up, and threw it directly into the roaring fireplace. He watched the pages turn to ash. He looked at his mirror and made a promise. I am going to stop trying to study this language like a dead science. I am going to live in it like a living world. This was the birth of his revolutionary method, which he later named the mere echo. Arthur realized a profound truth that changed modern linguistics. Children do not learn to speak by studying grammar charts. A 4-year-old child doesn't know what a prepositional phrase is, yet they can speak perfectly. Children learn through context, emotional connection, and constant auditory imitation. Arthur took his Russian copy of Robinson Crusoe and began his experiment using 3 strict rules. Because Arthur knew the story of Robinson Crusoe by heart in English, he didn't need to translate the sentences word by word. When he looked at a Russian paragraph, his brain naturally connected the strange new words to the events of the story he already knew. He was absorbing grammar subconsciously through context, just like a child does. Arthur realized that reading with your eyes is silent, but language is a physical act of sound. He searched the city until he found a poor native Russian priest. He paid the priest to read Robinson Crusoe out loud while Arthur listened intently, absorbing the rhythm. Then Arthur would go back to his room, stand in front of a large mirror, and echo the priest's voice. He didn't just whisper, he shouted the sentences out loud, mimicking the priest's exact emotions, pauses, and hand gestures. He was training his tongue and mouth muscles to physically adapt to the Russian language. Arthur discovered that memorizing vocabulary lists is pointless. A word without a sentence is like a fish out of water. It dies immediately. He decided he would only memorize complete, meaningful sentences. Every single day, he mastered exactly 10 full sentences. By the end of 2 months, he had hundreds of prefabricated sentence structures living rent-free in his brain, ready to be used instantly without thinking. Exactly 4 months after the night he burned his textbooks, Arthur walked into his boss's office. He didn't just bring a translated letter. He began speaking to the visiting Russian businessmen in flawless, melodic Russian. The businessmen were shocked. They asked him which university in Moscow he had graduated from. Arthur smiled and replied, I graduated from my bedroom. He saved the company's contract and was immediately promoted. But for Arthur, this was just the beginning of a grand global adventure. He realized he had discovered a universal master key to the human mind. He applied the mirror echo to Spanish. Because it was easier, it took him only 3 short months to speak fluently. He then challenged himself with Arabic, one of the hardest languages in the world. By living in the context and shadowing the sounds, he mastered it in 6 months. By the time Arthur reached his 40th birthday, he was walking the streets of London, Berlin, Beijing, and Istanbul, speaking 20 different languages. Professors, scientists, and top neurologists from Europe's greatest universities traveled to meet him. They ran tests on his brain, believing he was a genetic freak or a magical wizard. But Arthur always shook his head, laughed, and shared his diary. He told them, My brain is completely ordinary. The educational system is just doing it completely wrong. They treat a foreign language like a dry math problem to be solved with formulas. But a language is not math. It is a melody to be sung. Stop studying the notes on the paper and just start singing the song out loud. So why are we telling you Arthur's story today on the English Hub podcast? We are telling you this because the very same trap that Arthur fell into in the 1880s is the trap you might be in right now. If you are struggling to speak English fluently, stop stressing over boring grammar formulas. Stop trying to memorize long, isolated lists of vocabulary that you will forget tomorrow. Follow the father of languages. Find English stories you love, listen to native speakers, shadow their voices in front of your mirror, and focus on mastering full, living sentences. You don't need to learn 20 languages like Arthur did. You just need the courage, consistency, and passion to master one. Thank you so much for listening to this special episode. If Arthur's journey inspired you today, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with a friend who is currently struggling with their English. Before you go, leave a comment below and tell us, what is the biggest wall you face when trying to speak English? Let's talk about it. Take care of yourselves, keep singing the song, and we will see you in the next story. Bye-bye.